July of every year is declared by the United Nations as Nelson Mandela International Day. It is to reflect on the life and work of a great legend, popularly called Madiba of South Africa. Nelson Mandela will forever be remembered for his steadfast belief in justice and human equity. The theme for this year is Take Action, Inspire Change. It is meant to mobilize the human family to do more to build a peaceful, sustainable, and equitable world, the cause which Nelson Mandela lived and died for. How can the legacy be sustained with the xenophobic attack recently demonstrated by South Africans against other African citizens, coupled with various violations of human rights in the world? What lessons are to be learned about the life and times of Nelson Mandela? These and more will be our focus today on Panorama, coming to you live from the Lagos Network Center. I am Jennifer Igwe. First the news making the rounds. I'll be right back. In recent times, the federal government has been paying attention to the development of the civil aviation industry, especially towards ensuring the safety of the nation's airspace. In recognition of the International Civil Aviation Organization the International Civil Aviation Organization has commended the government with the promise to continue providing necessary guidelines to operators. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that this was when the acting president, Yemi Osinbajo, received the delegation of ICAO, led by the president of the council, Olumuyiwa Bernard Aliu.
Delegation of the International Civil Aviation Organization, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo said government is committed to providing infrastructure and environment for ease of doing business in the sector. President of the Council commends government of Nigeria for the investment and support for the development of the industry in Nigeria, which by extension is supporting the industry in Africa and globally.
In terms of training and capacity building, we are working on transforming Nigeria to a regional center of excellence in terms of training and to support to ensure that aviation remains safe, secure, and sustainable, and to be an example to other developing countries in Africa, and to support ICAO in its efforts to assist the other African states. So Nigeria is playing a very good leadership role.
He urges government to make the industry a cornerstone of national development. The acting president was informed on the coming international symposium on remotely aircraft piloted system.
For sure, we are not going to over-regulate, but also for sure, we will do regulate so that we will remain safe and secure, and then make the industry much more efficient, and then tap from the good uses of drones.
Minister of Aviation, Adis Rika, says the nation would use the outcome of the symposium to regulate more efficiently the use of unmanned air vehicles to strengthen aviation administration. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Developing drones regulations that will enable Africa and Indian Ocean countries harness the socio-economic importance in the use of remotely piloted aircraft systems took center stage at the International Civil Aviation Organization Symposium holding in Abuja. Stakeholders from different parts of the world are expected to share their experiences in addressing the challenges of unmanned aircraft. Emmanuel Ayomiro has details.
Countries relied on satellites to track certain activities, but today, drones, which are cheaper to acquire, are being used to carry out different tasks, considering the low altitude, which provide clearer pictures for quick analysis. However, controlling the use of drones is yet to be supported by existing laws in most countries.
We also are well on the way to building the regulatory framework that will facilitate international operations conducted in accordance with instrument flight rules. This work program, when complete, will provide the basis for a certificated, remotely piloted aircraft to operate in sequence with manned aircraft.
To invite the African aviation community to steer clear of rejecting the growing RPAS and UAS activities in Africa, as this should not be viewed as threats to the safety of the current air navigation operations.
The government, through Civil Aviation Authority, is establishing a remotely piloted aircraft safety team. They will also develop mitigation strategies to address these threats and prevent future accidents.
The symposium is to provide ACAO and its member states the opportunity to advance aviation priorities in the African region with ACAO's policy on no country left behind. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
The Nigerian Air Force has recorded another feat in its research and development drive with the manufacturing of an anti-skill braking system test bed for its first fighter jet. The equipment was manufactured in collaboration with the University of Maiduguri Engineering Department. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma reports.
The Alpha Jet is an invaluable asset to the Air Force for its operations, especially interdiction missions. It is equipped with an anti-skid braking system which provides maximum brake performance on all types of runway surfaces and improves landing safety under wet conditions, as well as slow down the speed of the aircraft while maintaining its power. This system allows the pilot to apply full brake pedal force on landing without fear of wheel lockup or skidding. The function of the test bench is to simulate the performance of principal components of the anti-skid braking system on the fighter jets for maintenance and repairs in achieving optimal performance.
I'm very happy to say that the capacity building program we are putting in place is actually making us to be more effective and more efficient in the discharge of our responsibilities. I want to tell the Vice Chancellor and his entourage that we are moving this test bench immediately to the northeast.
With the delivery of this test bench developed for the new generation of Alpha jets, the Chief of Air Staff is optimistic that all unserviceable anti-skid systems on the fighter jet fleet will be repaired, and the Memorandum of Understanding with the University of Maiduguri will open up new frontiers in aerospace engineering in the country using local content.
You are yet to see the best of the University of Maiduguri. I want to assure the Nigerian Air Force that we have already taken your suggestions for the establishment of an aeronautic engineering department very, very seriously.
In the meantime, the Air Force has received another patent right from NOTAP for the production of unmanned ground vehicles, especially for inspection and movement of IEDs to disposal sites. In Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Down to maritime. As a critical sector to Nigeria's economy and national growth, the need to protect the integrity of the nation's maritime environment has been stressed. This was a consensus at the public hearing jointly convened by the House of Representatives Committee on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration and that of Navy. National correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that the issue of piracy and kidnapping featured prominently during proceedings.
Two bills were deliberated upon. That for an act to amend the Maritime Operations Coordinating Board Act 2004, reconstituting it for effective control of all maritime operations in Nigeria's territorial waters, and that to create the Maritime Security Fund and to establish anti-piracy offences.
Oil production in Nigeria plummeted by more than 25% due to sea robbery, piracy and other attacks. The Nigerian Navy has been at the vanguard of liquidating these criminalities.
The Deputy Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, Chukwuka Onyema, standing in for Speaker Yakubu Dogara, said that the 8th National Assembly, as part of its legislative agenda, will put in place measures to promote rapid economic growth and development.
I wish to reiterate the importance of giving adequate attention to maritime security. 3 major industries have emerged from the maritime sector, namely transportation, fishing, and most importantly, oil and gas.
We can't enforce such if the environment is not secured.
Members urged that wastages should be blocked so as to maximize utilization of the proposed Maritime Security Fund. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
Drastic reduction in malpractices by candidates has been attributed to the impressive results recorded in this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Head of the National Office of WAEC, Olu Adenikpekun, stated this while announcing the result for the 2017 WASC school candidates in Lagos. Musa Toliat has the details.
According to the head of National Office of WAEC, Mr. Olu Adenipekun, out of the 1,559,162 candidates that sat for the West African Senior School Certificate Examination on May 12, 2017, a total of 923,486 candidates obtained minimum of credits in 5 subjects and above, including English language and mathematics.
The percentage of candidates in this category in the world for school candidates in 2015 and 2016 was 38.68% and 52.97%.
Mr. Adenipekun said that 214,952 candidates representing 13.79% of the total candidature for the examination will not have their results. This, he said, is not unconnected with their involvement in various forms of examination malpractices.
The committee's decision will be communicated to the affected candidates through their schools very shortly.
The head of WAEC National Office, however, admits that 95,734 candidates have issues with few subjects traceable to errors detected in the course of registration or during the examination, but that their results are being processed. Candidates who sat for the examination are expected to check details of their results on the Council's website, www.waecdirect.org. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
The federal government says it will provide tax relief to investors in the creative industry. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo stated this in a message to the opening of the Maiden Summit on Financing the Creative Industry in Nigeria. Anthony Forsen reports.
President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, represented by the Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun, said the creative industry can be made more vibrant by the private sector if proper investment is made in that direction.
You don't actually need direct government funding. You need government to enable you to find your own funding because you have shown up until now that you have the ability to do that. We simply need to support you better. How can we do that? Finding better ways of harnessing and supporting your revenue stream, because it is your revenue stream that makes your projects bankable.
She maintained that the federal government is committed to ensuring that the potentials of Nigerian youths are channeled into productive use, hence the need to create the enabling environment for the creative industry to grow. The creative industry, she said, accounts for 1.4% of the country's GDP and can rise to 4.5% if adequate investment is channeled into the sector. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said the conference is conceived as a deliberate way of finding a lasting solution to funding problems weighing down the sector.
All these efforts are geared towards one objective, which is transforming the creative industry into a creative economy, so that we can allow the creative talents of our teeming youth to blossom and create more jobs among others.
Panelists at the summit spoke on a wide range of issues.
So it would be useful to have a study to understand exactly if there are 25 problems in the industry, which are the 5 lowest hanging fruits.
Until we have that at the back of our mind, we will just be missing the boat.
We've gone through the learning process. Now we understand the process. It's been very interesting because we have continued to grow in all the subsectors.
Only matter of time and focusing on the content and distribution of that content. The moment Nigeria gets that ecosystem into place, I think Nigeria already have that creative base which can go all over the world.
This maiden edition of the Nigerian Creative Industry Summit will become an annual event. In Lagos, Anthony Forsen, NTA News.
We told you that today is the International Nelson Mandela Day. And to talk more on this, we have in the studio Professor Yomi Akinyeye from the Department of History and Strategic Studies, University of Lagos. Welcome to your studios.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
And what is the significance of today's celebration?
Well, Mandela was a legend in the course of his life. He was born on the 18th of July, 1918, and rose to prominence as a result of the phenomenon of apartheid, which was a major issue in international relations between 1948, when the National Party of South Africa instituted apartheid as a policy, and 1994, when it was formally liquidated as a system of governance in South Africa for multi-party democracy, in which Mandela emerged as the first black president of multi-party democracy in South Africa. In the course of the struggle for apartheid, by content was a practice whereby the different races in South Africa were segregated, and the blacks, who constitute the majority of the population, who are more than 70%, were relegated to the background. They were denied several opportunities. They had restricted educational opportunities. They could not enter into key sectors of the economy and the public service. And then they were denied access to the land. They had access to control of less than 13% of the land of the area.
It was a terrible era.
It was a terrible era. So the South Africans rose up in unison to liquidate this obnoxious system. And Nelson Mandela was the symbol of that struggle, right from 1964, when he was jailed, until 1990 or 91, when he negotiated the end of apartheid with the last apartheid president of South Africa, William de Klerk. So Nelson Mandela was the arrowhead and the symbol of the liberation struggle and the fight for the freedom of South Africa and the eradication of the apartheid system.
In addition to that, he had very salient qualities, especially that of forgiveness.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Yes, that of forgiveness.
In spite of several deprivations, sufferings, and untold hardship, when he came out, he was magnanimous. He did not go on a vengeance spree, and he canvassed for an all-inclusive South Africa, whereby equity and social justice will be guaranteed. And it is in recognition of this that the whole world designated his birthday as an international day to be celebrated and commemorated from year to year since 2013 when he died.
Now, but looking at the qualities of Nelson Mandela, do you think, or in your view, would you say today in Africa we have someone who is like a replica of Nelson Mandela today?
It is difficult to say. If one goes through the entire length and breadth of Africa, it's difficult to see the equal of Nelson Mandela, a man who could forgive the past in order to give the present a meaning and look forward to the future without bitterness and with friendship, with the spirit of unquantified charity that he demonstrated. It's difficult to see any African leader who can measure up to these qualities of Nelson Mandela.
Now, the theme this year is Take Action, Inspire Change. And with the change agenda that we have in Nigeria, do you think there are lessons we can learn from there that can help us in pushing our own agenda?
Of course. Like in several societies in Africa, we have so much that is wrong with the Nigerian society. Inequity, corruption, ineptitude, bad leadership, selfishness, and all what have you. Mandela, in the course of his life, fought vigorously against injustice and inequity and dedicated his life. He made a lot of sacrifice. He sacrificed his professional career as a lawyer. He sacrificed his family life. He sacrificed his social relations and everything to fight for this until he succeeded in 1994. We are on the right path. Our own president, Muhammadu Buhari, has stricken the right chord by saying, at least from our own Nigerian society, so much has gone wrong and that this has to be corrected. And that was when he came on board. He started the anti-corruption mantra and has been moving, it was moving in the right direction until, unfortunately, his health did not cooperate with him.
Yeah, but
so
I'm sure it's getting better.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the xenophobic attacks in South Africans, because it's as if many South Africans, or some South Africans, have forgotten so fast the role played by many other Africans during
especially
the apartheid, especially Nigeria,
yes,
during the apartheid era. So do you think that can be curtailed?
It will take some time. What is happening is that the ordinary South Africans who have been denied access to the good things of life will need some time before they can come into their own. It will take some time for them, for example, to go through primary, secondary, and tertiary education for them to be appropriately placed in the critical sectors of their society, politics, and economy. The other areas where they don't seem to require so much tutelage and skill is in the area of entrepreneurship and individual businesses. And in these areas, nationals from other African countries are coming to compete or to outcompete them. So they are expressing their frustration against their own society on these foreigners. And it's generally the same situation for countries that have found themselves in similar conditions. For example, when Nigeria was experiencing economic recession in the mid-80s, because certain West African nationals came here in large numbers when the economy was boosting, the entire society turned against them. They were accused of so many things, of so many crimes, even though without much empirical data to support this. And this was an expression of frustration by the ordinary people who could not easily fix themselves and find their levels within their society, economy, and politics.
Okay, thank you for... I want to say, but the difference was that there was no violence in what we did in Nigeria.
There was no violence. But that was probably
violence,
because there was an official response to say these people should go back to their home countries.
Okay, thank you for coming to our studios, Professor Yomi Akinyeye.
Thank you.
From the Department of History and Strategic Studies, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming to our studios.
Thank you.
Now to sports. Nigeria's D Tigers drawn in Group A of the 2017 FIFA Afro Basketball as this year's junior golf developmentist of the IBB International Golf Country Club. Dende Sani has the details.
The annual Children's Summer Golf Development Program of the IBB International Golf and Country Club began Monday at the Kiddies section, with organizers aiming to instill the rules, knowledge and etiquette of the sport through a fusion of golfing activities and fitness training. Over 50 golfers ages 5 to 18 participated in the inaugural section out of the 100 that registered for the 2 weeks training, as professionals target selecting the next generation of future golf stars.
Every golf clinic can always come here, and each year is getting better and better.
It's better that we start our own program as well, so that they can compete at any level, locally and internationally.
Defending champions, Nigeria's D Tigers have been drawn in Group A of the 2017 AfroBasket Championship alongside Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The competition, which will be co-hosted by Senegal and Tunisia, will see Nigeria's D Tigers play their group game in Tunis, while Nigeria's first group game will be against Cote d'Ivoire on the 8th of September. The government of Senegal has commenced investigations into last Saturday's stampede at the Demba Diop Stadium during a football match between Stade de Mbour and Union Sportive Ouakam. 8 people died after the final whistle following the collapse of a wall in the Dakar Stadium, worsened by police tear gas and clashes between supporters of the 2 teams. Seydou Gueye, spokesman for the Senegalese government, said all sporting and cultural activities are banned until after the legislative elections to be held on July 30th. With Sport Update, Dende Sani, NTA News.
And Sports Update ends Panorama today from the Lagos Network Center. Many thanks for watching. I am Jennifer Igwe. Good afternoon.